Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ricia Chansky once again from the María project, and I have the pleasure of talking to a student who I've been collaborating with for almost 2 years now. And I'm just going to ask Brenda, can you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, my name is Brenda Flores Santiago. I'm a former student at University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. Currently I'm at Juncos, Puerto Rico at my uncle's house because my electricity went out. That's something that's a normal since Hurricane Maria, but yeah.
Well, thank you to you, Brenda, and thank you to your uncle as well for letting you come over to record this there. Brenda, I know that when the COVID-19 pandemic started, you were not in Puerto Rico. Where were you?
So I was currently 1 month and a half into an internship that I was doing with Disney. It's called the Disney College Program, and I was not home. I was alone in Florida in the complexes that they gave us, but more precisely, I was working. I used to create magic at Epcot at the American Pavilion, and a coworker ran into work because her shift has started, and she was crying, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And that's when she told me, "Did you saw the email?" I was like, "What email?" And the email had stated that we had 3 days to leave our apartment complexes because of COVID-19, the parks were going to be closed and we were no longer needed.
How was your experience of coming home during the pandemic?
It was really weird, like everything that's been happening since then. Um, I remember that when it happened, the first thing that I thought was like, am I gonna be able to buy a plane ticket? Am I gonna be able to go home? Am I gonna get there? The thought of stepping on an airport was the scariest part, even though I worked in a place where people all around the world came to visit. It was not, it was just uncertainty constantly. And at least, thank God, like I have a uncle that lived like an hour away from the parks, and he was able to go pick me up at my apartment the next day. That because we got the news that we got fired on the 14th, and we had into the 17th of March to be out. So on the 16th, I went to the parks for one last time with my coworkers and my friends, and then on the 17th, I was already out because my uncle came to pick me up at like 8 a.m. because we had until 11 a.m. Then after that, I spent almost, yeah, it was 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks at my uncle's house, like staying like the quarantine. Because I was afraid that if I got into an airport and I went home, I would get my granddad infected, and he's 1990 years old. So it was just this thing that I didn't know what I was gonna do, when I was gonna leave. I wanted to go home because I was scared that at any moment Puerto Rico was gonna shut down and I was not going to be able to go home. But at the same time, I was relieved that I was with family. It was just a lot. And when I finally got the chance to come to Puerto Rico, I remember that I couldn't sleep. That day when I got to the airport, it was extremely vacío, empty. No one, like, a lot of people took the precautions and they had like masks. And I remember when I got there, the people that worked for the airline were playing bingo because it was so empty. And it was like the MCO, which is an international airport of Orlando, where Disney has all their stores. So that airport is constantly like moving. They were playing bingo.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
That's that must have been shocking to see, Brenda. That must have been really shocking to see.
it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Brenda, you talked about your grandfather and you mentioned that you were really concerned about his well being. And I know that a lot of the work that you've done in the Mi Maria project has to do with your grandfather. Do you want to tell us briefly what that situation included?
Hmm. Yeah. So my grandfather is a dialysis patient, and because of that, his immune system is on the floor all the time. And literally, the thing that I thought first was, if I go home and I infect my grandfather, he survived working Maria, and then because of me, he could get sick and die. That was that was the worst feeling ever. I remember like having that urge of going back home and being with my family, but at the same time being so afraid that if I got there, my grandpa or my mom or my dad could get sick and they could literally die. Because that's the thing with this pandemic, we know about it now, but at the moment we didn't know exactly what it could do to us and to like older people. And now that we do, it has taken over all of our lives and it's extremely scary. And I couldn't shake that away from me. I remember like talking with my friends and being, because my friends left immediately to Puerto Rico, and they were like, "You should come. You should like buy your ticket because you don't know if they're gonna close the frontier." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want to go home and get my family sick. I don't want to like be the reason that someone in my family dies, that my granddad dies or my grandma." And it's not like I can stay away from them because they live on the second floor of my house, and my parents are the one that are always like taking them to medical appointments, like buying them groceries, and I was gonna be in my house in contact with my parents, and then they were gonna have contact with my grandparents. So it was this whole mess in my mind that I didn't know how to handle. And the
Yeah.
best thing that I thought I could do was let me just stay the 14 days that I have to in Orlando with my uncle. Also risking him, his wife, and my cousin, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, that must have been so scary, Brenda.
It was. And at the airport, like not a lot of people were taking the precautions that they had to.
Yeah, yeah. In Orlando.
Yeah, it was like people. It was like normal for they were. I remember clearly. I was in line, and like a lot of people had their mask and had their gloves. And I remember this guy. He literally was cuffed, and he didn't have a mask. He didn't do anything. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. Brenda, you very nicely talked about a connection from the Mi Maria project to this circumstance with COVID, but I wonder if you could say anything to us that you feel as though you learned from the aftermaths of Maria that's helping you or helping somebody in your family right now.
yeah. I feel that obviously this is something horrible that we're going through. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Like people are dying. This is not vacation. We're being forced to stay inside because of our health. But I feel that since Hurricane Maria was equally as horrible, and we were stuck in the sense that we didn't have anything coming in from outside. We didn't have food, water. People died also of hunger. All of that crisis prepared us for this crisis. Like as horrible as that sounds, I feel that if we hadn't gone through Hurricane Maria or the earthquake that we recently had, here in the island we wouldn't be prepared for what has happened. I feel that the long lines in grocery stores, the long lines in gas stations that you literally have to be there at 5 a.m. help us prepare us for what we're going through now. That's why I feel that Puerto Ricans have patience. They're not going out and about saying like claiming that everything should be open because of the economy, because we lived through a phase that there was nothing. We had nothing, and we managed to survive that. So now we see this, and as everyone, like we talked about this, now we see this like, yes, it sucks. We're inside. Work is not the same. Our lives, our new normal. Can you, can we even categorize it as normal? But at the same time, at least we have electricity, we have water, we have internet, and we can go to a supermarket and there's gonna be food and water. And the thing, the something that it's really peculiar, my my granddad from my mom's side, he had like really bad PTSD from Maria, and it was his birthday, the 25th of April, and we went there to like bring him a cake, obviously with the distance and our mask and everything. And he has like 10 um bo- boxes of bottled water because of what we lived. We didn't have anything, so now we're like automatically prepared for the worst, and I feel that's helped us and kind of molded us to be prepared for a crisis.
Yeah, yeah. Brenda, thank you so much for talking with
Welcome.
me today. I hope that you and your family stay safe and stay well.
Thank you, you too. I hope that you guys do.
Thank you.